Hello, everyone who is now watching and listening to this talk. Today, I am talking with Mikhail Turinsky, a choreographer, performer, and theoretician who lives and works in Vienna. And also, he presents his work internationally. His performances, but also he held different lectures and workshops in different contexts. And my name is Saša Asentić. I'm also choreographer and performer and cultural worker. This talk and the talks that will follow next weeks, every Friday, will be hosted here on this page of Per.Art organization in Novi Sad, and together with the Kampnagel in Hamburg within Euro Beyond Access project, we will try to reach more people who can listen and watch what we will be talking in this series of talks. Hopefully some other partners will also join us, because I think in these times is important to think of different ways that we can meet, think, reflect on what is happening with us as artists and citizens in this period, and keep exchanging and keeping together and in touch while we actually live in the times where pretty much isolation, or even the term social distancing, is imposed and so on, which I think has big consequences on us and on our society. So this is a little like idea and contribution to do something about it in our field of contemporary dance and performance. And I would like to maybe start, Mikhail, with the also reason why I wanted to talk to you. It was the first idea because in December, a few months ago, you were in Novi Sad, you were our guest, and you presented your performance, Heteronymous Male. And for me, that work, since I saw it years ago, was very interesting, and I was happy to bring it to Novi Sad, and audiences could see it also there. And what is for me important in that work is how you address and examine these questions of autonomy and heteronomy. And of course, in this performance, you deal with this, how the external forces, like a discourse and everything that defines the practice of contemporary dance, acts on the body on stage, and particularly also on a disabled body. So this work is something that also made me think exactly about this autonomy and heteronomy in these times that we are now living and experiencing. So I would like to ask you maybe to start this talk exactly reflecting a little bit on how do you see this when, or do you think about it, or do you agree with what I am proposing as a starting to think, how is it for us as heteronymous subjects, especially nowadays, and how do you experiencing in general? And of course, we can later come and talk about it also in our field of contemporary dance.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I think it's a very, very big question in a way, and I could go probably into many different directions, but basically, what I'm thinking about in the moment or in these days, what I'm thinking about a lot is basically how we frame the current situation and also how we experience it. And I need to say that me personally, I don't feel it so much as a situation of heteronomy or of of um, what I would like to say is basically that when I'm talking to friends of mine or colleagues of mine, it seems quite easy for some of us to frame the situation as a kind of conflict between our own desire for freedom on the one hand and authoritarian control by the state on the other hand. But me personally, I think this is much too easy, much too easy to think about it like that or to frame it like that. For me, it's basically a conflict between our own desire for freedom, or yes, let's say also the conflict between our desire for autonomy and autonomous living on the one hand, and a concern for the well-being of others on the other hand. So I think it's too easy to frame it as a conflict between freedom and control. I rather experience this as a conflict, let's say, between desires for freedom or also desires related to mobility on the one hand, and on the other hand, a basic concern for a well-being of others. And I mean, in my solo, it was a lot about also how to let's say how to negotiate between what the field of dance needs, what the space needs in terms of the configuration of the field and what I can offer, and also how to negotiate between wanting to do what I want to do on the one hand and needing to conform not only to some stupid normal forces but also to respond to what is needed. And I feel this is central for me. This is actually the central issue also of the situation and really also of my own work, how to negotiate between my sense of what might be needed or what the space needs, let's say, and what I can offer.
Yes.
I don't know if it makes sense.
Yes, I think it's important, this conflict that you are mentioning. I also think it's important not to simplify things, but this conflict is interesting for me to hear how you talk about it, and especially to think of these antagonisms that are there. And now when you were talking about your work, exactly how you did it in the work to observe these antagonisms and then really do something about it in the place where maybe conflict would appear, but maybe that's what I think is important when I hear you speaking about this conflict related to desire of movement and mobility and all this what you said, is exactly to think how can we be aware of these antagonisms, but maybe not think of a conflict, but to see how to deal with them with our competencies that we have as artists and citizens.
Yes, exactly. I think that's very, I think that's what, yes, that's the thing actually, how to deal with with these antagonisms or the, yeah, definitely.
But this, I cannot not think about I mean, in each country is different. That's why I wanted to do this talk so we can speak to colleagues in Tehran, in Novi Sad, in Vienna, in New York, and different places to also understand the situation in which all of us are. Because also we have also very different positions, and I know that we can also problematize this proposal and that what we talk and in general of being also having already a privileged position. But I wouldn't want to now open that because of something also more than that I am interested to still think what is it that we can do. And in that sense, what I was saying, I cannot not think about this stay home as one of the measures that is there in a state of emergency in some countries, but in some countries under the infection protection law and so on and so on. But the idea is the same. And then this, it makes me think now when I listen to this, what we were just talking about, how to process this experience, because exactly this what you were saying about care for the other, because for many of our colleagues, state of the stay home is not a state of emergency or a temporary state, but is rather the opposite. Go public and come together or socialize would be a temporary or exceptional state. I'm talking mainly about our colleagues with disabilities, but not only. And I'm just thinking, because it makes me think about how this situation clearly shows to us something that we also accepted in the political regime that we belong to and society in which we live, is that these same institutions that impose these measures, at the same time, they didn't develop and they don't invest in measures that equally can take care of us. Equally meaning as they can ask us to distance from each other, to stay isolated, which I understand in terms of epidemiology, I understand the purpose, but in terms of dealing with antagonisms and changing something for us as social subjects, it's something for me interesting to think as a time to really hear ideas that are being formed under this fire, if I may say. You understand what I mean?
You mean ideas in terms of, let's say, care?
In terms of care, in terms of care and everything that it implies.
I mean, it's really hard for me to think about this issue in a clear manner because I have many thoughts about it, but I didn't sort them out yet. And it's sometimes I feel a little bit also ashamed about some of those ideas. For example, that actually, me personally, I also in a way enjoy this time of not needing to produce anything and to have time for wandering and doing, for example, for me, this time means a certain kind of coming back to my origins, which is philosophy. So this time gives me a lot of time not that I did not engage with thoroughly for a long time, and this is actually something that I really appreciate. This kind of
reclaiming of our time.
Reclaiming contemplation, let's say.
Yes.
Reclaiming a contemplative state of mind. This is what me personally, I do enjoy about these days, and at the same, how can I put it? I mean, what came out for me really now is this kind of I feel a little bit strange about the readiness with which we accept certain measures when they are motivated by a concern for our direct neighbors, so to speak, while basically our own general way of life is much less challenged and readily transformed when it comes to a concern for distant others.
Mm-hmm.
And this is really that's what also in my mind at the moment, how to address as a citizen but also as an artist this kind of this kind of, I accept that certain forms of proximity matter morally, politically, but I don't accept the huge extent to which these proximities, especially geographical proximities, matter. And so I'm thinking a lot about what's really what occupies my mind at the moment, philosophically and artistically as a citizen, is how to, because of course, we all have good reasons, for example, to go out and meet our friends, of course. But this kind of, staying at home or staying where we are is also, when I think about the whole discussion about climate justice and mobility justice, who is enjoying the benefits of how we organize our mobility and who is facing the costs of how we organize our mobility as a society is completely unevenly distributed. And I'm thinking a lot about how to challenge our own desires, let's say, in relation to mobility and also maybe freedom, or liberal bourgeois
Yes.
I'm confused now.
It's clear. It just makes me think. I know that you don't, in this way of thinking and in this process, when these thoughts are appearing, and as you say, it keeps your mind occupied. I don't think there is a proposal how to go further with this, but because it is inspiring to hear this, I still want to ask if even in imagination, like how do you see that these thoughts can also go further? Maybe if we talk about desires, and I'm mentioning imagination because you started by saying that you feel now you have time and you go to your old self, that you can also go back to philosophy and think. Would you give up on this state? Because when the creative industry is back with its frame, logic, and economy, I'm afraid that we will lose again this time that you are talking about, as if now there is a feeling that we have chance to reclaim this time. So would you give up on this time and this feeling and this one part of yourself that you are now like rediscovering? And if not, how you imagine that it can be continued or like further reclaimed?
One way, and this brings me to my new solo also. I mean, what I already before this COVID crisis emerged, already before wait a minute, the time, yeah, already before this crisis, I was, I, I knew that I knew that I wanted to, in my next work, I want to share my engagement with the issues of mobility and mobilization from the one hand, from a physical and somatic perspective, and on the other hand, I wanted and I intend to share a specific kind of, let's say, discursive practice that I think is very particular to me, which I would characterize as a discursive practice that kind of shifts back and forth between biographical sharing of associations stemming from my own life and my own unconscious, let's say, and on the other hand, engagement with theory. So I think I have a resource of a specific kind of discursive practice that is not too serious, actually, which can be also quite, I had this idea, for example, from a solo to write a love letter to communism, but in a very ironic way. And so I already before the crisis, I intended to reintegrate this discursive practice into my artistic work. And I mean, basically, it was always part of my practice, but I did not always share this kind of practice within the format of a piece, let's say. And then I honestly, yes, then I saw actually also your country in the DDR piece, and I saw your work in Novi Sad, and then I was thinking to myself, actually this kind of articulation of movement work, of somatic work, and discursive contextualization or whatever is actually a resource that I have and that I want to not only cultivate privately, but that I want to, but still, now that you ask me these questions, I think a lot about how to, if there are even more ways of addressing a public of addressing an audience for me that are kind of easy and effective at the same time. Let's put it
Yes.
like.
Okay, we had a little internet connection problem, so we solved it and we are back. I mean, I was just thinking about this, what you were saying. I think it's exciting because it's something that you are busy with and working on. And it's exciting to also see how it will be work and how it would relate to the public, and also how it will create public in a way how you were saying is your interest. And maybe now just to slowly bring this talk to an end, I would like to ask you, and I would ask other colleagues that I will talk to think of a question for the next artist that I will talk to. And it's not important who it will be, because I don't want it to be like a personal and or directed to this particular artist, but more to think of a question that comes out of this state in which we are, and situation that we all share and deal with at this moment.
Yeah, I thought about it a little bit, and since as I said, at the moment I'm very much interested in issues of mobility and movement and so on. My questions are very simple, namely, if you think about the idea of or the expression of mobility justice, what would mobility justice mean for you, whoever you are? Yes, that will be my question.
Okay, thank you. So with this question, what is your mobility justice?
What would mobility justice mean for you?
Yes, what it means for you. And I would like to maybe leave this question also for all those who are watching and listening to us now, and say thank you, and thanks to everyone who were following us, and finish this talk.
Thanks